This is Book Affairs, where we talk about books and where we examine or explore literature together. But today I want to let you know that we are going to consider issues from a different perspective, because the book I have with me here is going to treat an entirely different topic or subject. The title of the book today is World Cup Moments. Even from that title, I believe you are already beginning to have a feel of what the book is all about. But then, this is beyond football. This is about human achievement, resilience, national pride, and sporting excellence. The book is written by a prolific writer who has been on this show once in the past. We consider it important to bring him back to the show again because he now has a new book. My guest, the writer of World Cup Moments, is Mr. Bunmi Akinsemola. And sir, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Good day.
Thank you very much. I introduced you to your audience as a writer, but you are beyond that. You are a sports enthusiast. You call yourself a sports pundit, and I really appreciate that. I was telling those watching you that your book, though titled World Cup Moments, is beyond football. It is a demonstration of human resilience, national pride, and sporting excellence. We will talk more about all this, but not until we have met the writer. So if I may ask you, who is Mr. Bunmi Akinsemola?
Well, Bunmi Akinsemola, I will introduce myself from the point of writing, and especially with regard to sports. Is somebody who probably took up the habit of writing from his father. My father, I don't think he published a book, but he was always writing. He was an admin person, and he was used to buying a lot of books. He bought encyclopedias, and from there we started reading. He bought 2 newspapers every day, and so that got me into reading. And if you are reading, you are likely going to be writing. And so in my university days, I attended University of Jos. As a matter of fact, before that, I was doing some books like my father that I didn't publish. I remember I did a book on 1986 World Cup. I did another one on 1990 World Cup. But when I was in the university, I started writing sports for the Standard. Just like the Hope in Ondo State is a Plateau State paper. So I was writing sports for them regularly as a university student. And I remember there was one article that I even wrote. I also sent it to Sports Souvenir, it's satire. The US was to meet Iran at the 1998 World Cup. So I did a satire on that particular match, and I called it Christian Amampo Reporting.
Before the match? You did that before the match?
Yeah, that was 6 months before the match. As soon as the draws were made in Lyon in 1997, I wrote that article. In those days, you wrote longhand, no computers to type, no email to send. I wrote it longhand. I put it in the post office hole, and it went to Sports Souvenir. Sports Souvenir was probably the biggest sports newspaper that has ever been in Nigeria till now, and it was published then. So I still have the material, and so it was supposed to be a satire, so it was funny, just creating like a war on a football field. And I said USA versus Iraq with Saddam Hussein as a referee. So I wrote that. So I mean, since then I've been writing a lot of sports materials, and these days now we do it on the net, social media, writing a lot about sports, and then we talk sports. When I was in Jos in those days too, used to do sport punditry with the local television until I returned back to Ondo State. Of course, Osrc has been one of the places I've been severally. And as a matter of fact, this book started on the OSRC program.
Really?
Yes. But,
When was that?
That was the Sunday night sports on the FM, this
96.5 FM.
Is it the 96.5? The Orange FM.
That's 94.5.
Yeah, Orange FM. It was just like we used as a segment of the program. Then I was just writing World Cup moment in preparation for the 2018 World Cup. So I was just researching materials and putting them together for the presenter to read.
All right. Thank you very much. That's quite elaborate. That, institutes you as a football pundit, and I really appreciate that. You are really well grounded in what you have written. Now, your book is titled World Cup Moments. I wouldn't want to ask you why, of all things in the world, you have decided to choose that title. It is apt. It speaks for itself. Instead, I will want to ask you, why have you decided to write this book? Why this focus on the World Cup? Why is it an issue? You are making it an issue. Yes. Why?
Well, it is a historical narrative. So, honestly, any student of history who want to read this book, because, like you have said, it goes beyond just the football, and I'm putting a lot of things into it that revolves around the FIFA World Cup, which started in 1930. But for the FIFA World Cup to start in 1930, a lot happened. Really, really a lot. For them to start, even the president of the International Olympic Committee then, Baron Pierre de Coubertin, he opposed it. He didn't want professional football. He wanted amateur football. And somewhere in the middle, there was this man called Sir Thomas Lipton. It's an eponymous name. We now know the Yellow Label tea. That's the man that founded it. He was a self-made man, a yachtsman. He did the first international football competition for clubs because there was this issue whether they should start the World Cup or not. And so all these histories, somebody needs to put them together in one book. So that's why I call it a universal set of histories. If you just talk about the football, you probably find a lot of books talking about the football. But I can assure you there is no book that brings all the histories together. It also brings how it is affected by other events like World War I, like World War II, like
even the Middle East tension.
Yes,
that played out during that match, US,
exactly.
Iran
so
match.
A lot of things, including inventions. You will see how inventions in every decade shaped the World Cup. Let's talk about aviation, for instance. I mentioned somebody in this book, Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart was the first woman to fly around the world, solo flight. It was very dangerous. That was around the early 30s to fly in those days. It was very dangerous. As a matter of fact, Amelia Earhart disappeared when she tried to fly to the Antarctica, the southern pole. She was never heard of again. So that was how dangerous it was to fly. Now, the first man to do the first solo flight from Paris, or from New York to Paris, it took him 29 hours. Today is 7 hours. So when the first World Cup took place in Uruguay, they didn't fly. They went by a ship. Everybody, all the players that came from Europe, 4 countries from Europe, including the FIFA president then, that's Jules Rimet. He put the cup in a bag, so all of them traveled on the ship together. A lot of countries in Europe did not want to attend because they felt that it would affect their season. They said it would take 3 months. It's a long time to travel by ship. So these are some of the things that are there. So you will see a lot of histories. It talks about the birth of Pele. Why is it called Pele? For instance, there is nothing that Pele means in the Brazilian or Portuguese language. So it's because he couldn't pronounce a word, Bile. He had that speech impairment. So he called it Pele. So, and since then, the name stuck. And but in Hebrew, Pele means miracle. So maybe that's why he was like a miraculous kind of player.
Thank you very much. This is contextualized in your earlier explanation. You talked about professional football, you talked about amateur football. Briefly establish the difference between the two.
Okay, amateur football is the kind of football that somebody will do and then you see to be doing some other jobs on the side. But when you are a professional football, your basic job is football. So at the start of football, most of them they were amateur, and the football at the Olympics was played by amateurs in those days. I think football started in 1904. Yes, 1904 Olympics. So as a matter of fact, it started as a demonstration sport in which they were not given medals, though they now give them medals later, whether they were alive or dead. I mean, not too long ago, maybe like 20 years ago. So they now awarded medals. And that was because of the impression of Baron Pierre de Coubertin, the first president of IOC, who actually brought the Olympics together. So, but clubs were being established. Football had been existing in England before then. I mean, give it to England, they started football. They wrote the rules. Up to today, they dominate IFAB. FIFA joined IFAB. Not that IFAB joined FIFA. Those are the rules writer of football. So they started it, and they didn't actually like it that some people were now taking football beyond what they did. So that's why England did not join FIFA early. In fact, England did not start to participate in the World Cup until 1950. And they could have won a lot of World Cups. So because they were bringing professionals in, people were playing for a lot of clubs, and those were people that work full-time as football. But initially what they were using football to do was just like a pastime. As a matter of fact, when they had wars in those days, they used football to settle it. And in those games, they wounded themselves. That it was that barbaric.
That's quite interesting. Your presentation is robust, but I want to believe you have more to tell us. And viewer, thank you very much for watching us. For some time, you have been watching and listening to my guest, Mr. Bunmi Akinsemola, the writer of World Cup Moments. He's been telling us quite a lot. He will tell you more, but not until we have observed this break. Come along with us.
There's a shadow which will be sun. When there is love for the one.
Welcome back. You are still watching Book Affairs, your TV book program where we explore literature. And my guest today, Mr. Bunmi Akinsemola, the writer of World Cup Moments, is still very much on set. And Mr. Akinsemola, once again, I welcome you.
Thank you very much.
You have
for
given
having me.
us a rich background into all that you have written here. But I want to probe further into your book. How many chapters do we have in the book?
There are 15 chapters.
15
in this
chapters. When and where was it published?
book. The book was published 2026. Was published 2026 in Akure.
And by which publisher?
It's a self-publication.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Earlier, you talked about inventions, and how that or those have shaped football. As football evolves, you believe much of that depends on the new technologies that were coming up. You have scratched it a little on the surface. I wish to know more about that. What inventions, have played critical roles in the evolution of football or the World Cup?
Thank you very much. It's very key to football to actually know these things.
I know of
aviation, very important. Like I mentioned, they couldn't fly to the World Cup because flight was still kind of dodgy in those days. And then, but it has improved. That same flight that Charles Lindbergh did, 29 hours, you do it 7 hours today now. That's why look at the World Cup that will be holding in North America, USA, Canada, Mexico. So you could play a match in Mexico and your next match could be in Canada just because there are good fast flights. And then talk about radio broadcasts, commentaries. First started, the first commentaries, I think that was in 1938 World Cup hosted by Italy. So that was when football commentary started. Then it went to television. In 1954 World Cup, that was when black and white production started. As a matter of fact, the sale of television went up. It skyrocketed
Because of football.
Because of football in 1954 World Cup. So during the 1954 World Cup, which was hosted by Switzerland, the Swiss also brought commercialization into World Cup because, well, they are known for banking and they are not bankers for nothing. So they were the first set of people to do stamps, commemorative stamps, which they sold then. And I mean, they made a lot of money doing that. And coins, minted coins. And then it moved on when we got to 1966 World Cup. That was when the first color production happened. But they couldn't do it live. Live was still black and white, but post World Cup, there was color production of the matches. And it was in 1966 that the first mascot was also done. By the time we're getting to 1970, the first this mobile phone, Motorola, was done. And people even use it to carry commentary. ATM machines were done. LED lights that now have all this big screen in the stadium. That was the time that it first started, the first technology, things that have been improved on a lot now. So in those days, when you want to report your football matches, you will have to go to a call center as a journalist. You have to go to a call center, a phone booth. I remember when Nigeria wanted to host the World Junior Championship in 1999, one of the conditions was that there should be a lot of phone booths at the stadium. And the person who came, the Jakwana, he went to test it. He called home to be sure that the phone booths were working. But today, you now have your phones. The first time we had such phones was Motorola in 1968. Unfortunately, Motorola seems to have disappeared now. So a lot of technologies like that have shaped football. Even the laser light, I think it was around 1978, people use it to distract goalkeepers during, it's very common among North African fans. So it's also part of this invention that we talk about.
I think that will lead us to the next aspect of the program, and that has to do with the having a direct feel of what you wrote. We have a tradition. The author reads a portion for us to hear. So, Mr. Akinsemola.
Okay. I want to read from page 209. It says, they were probably still seething 4 minutes later when Maradona stunned the whole world with a breathtaking masterpiece of a goal that took the whole of England defense apart. He began to move inside his own half with a swiveling movement that left a couple of players for dead, and in carefully measured 11 touches taken over 60 meters, the ball glued magically to his diminutive left foot, dribbling past Peter Beardsley, Steve Hodge, Peter Reed, Terry Butcher, and Terry Fenwick before he deployed an amalgam of sway and feint to stretch the ball beyond the advancing lunge of goalkeeper Peter Shilton and slotted the ball into the net. There definitely was no complaint after the sheer wizardry, but only applause from both sides of the divide.
And thank you very much. You have read a portion of the book to us. So I would like you to tell us what exactly all of that is about.
Yes, I said Maradona was a football genius, and in a match, you could see the bad genius aspect of him and the good genius aspect of him, because the first goal he scored in that match, he scored with his hand. As a matter of fact, when he was interviewed after the match, his answer itself was genius, kind of. He said it was the hand of God, and today people still use that term, the hand of God,
as an expression.
As an expression. So he didn't say I used my hand; he said it was the hand of God. So England complained. The players saw it, but the Tunisian referee did not see it, so they complained. But 4 minutes after he scored that goal, he now scored this. I mean, this goal has been described as the most wonderful goal ever scored, the best goal ever in football. And I put it at the close of that particular chapter that nobody has ever dominated the World Cup the way Maradona did in 1986 to help Argentina win the World Cup. And they used to call him the Maradona, the general, and his 10 recruits. then, because I mean he was in such dominant form, where he took the ball from his own half of the field and then he dribbled about 6 players, including the goalkeeper, to score the goal. To the point that even those who were angry with him, they were applauding him for the brilliant goal that he scored.
If I may ask you, you made Maradona very, very big. No doubt he was big compared to Pele. Who of the two, in your mind, would you refer to as the bigger or better player? You said Maradona dominated that
yes.
1986 World Cup in a way no other player had done. But I would think Pele was of that status in 1970 World Cup also that Brazil won.
Yes. You see, it's not the kind of question I would like to answer. I would just only want to appreciate that I have seen both, at least on television.
Same way you wouldn't want to talk about Ronaldo
Yeah,
and Pele and
I don't
Messi.
answer. I said thank God I saw both in my generation. But the thing about the two of them was that Maradona dominated a particular World Cup like no other person dominated the World Cup. Pele came to the World Cup in 1958 as a 17-year-old. Maradona was not given that privilege. The coach of Argentina in 1978, what was his name again? Was it Cesar Luis Menotti? He put, I mean, there was a lot of pressure on him to use Maradona in that particular World Cup, but he said he was too young. But Pele came and he scored 5 goals in 1958. He didn't start from the first game. 1962, he did not play. He did not finish 2 matches. He was injured. They injured him in 1962. Then up came Garrincha. Garrincha stood in another brilliant dribbler, and they won the World Cup. 1966, I mean, it was a rough time again for Brazil. And they even left in the first round. It was not protected. They were injuring him too. But 1970, as a matter of fact, before 1970, he said he was not playing again at the World Cup. But the coach of Brazil in 1970, that was Mario Zagallo, who had played with Pele in 1958 and 1962, begged him to come back. And then they had one of the best teams ever. So the effort of 1970, where we could talk about Pele, was largely a team effort. People till today will say the 1970 team is the best team ever in that World Cup. And so if you go by stats, Pele's stats will be better than Maradona. Pele won 3 World Cup. He had 3 World Cup medals. He has scored more goals than Maradona in the World Cup. He has played more matches than Maradona in the World Cup. But talking of dominating one particular World Cup, I give it to Diego Maradona in 1986.
Thank you very much. And as we come to a close on this show, I would like you to give us your parting shot. What exactly would you like to tell your audience?
This book is called The World Cup Moment. It doesn't just talk about particular World Cups. It even talks about matches that happened before the World Cup, that happened after any World Cup. It talks about issues that surround the World Cup. You want to read a lot about histories. You will be interested that it talks about issues like the Second World War very well. The Falklands Islands War of 1982 is actually mentioned. There were some issues. The earthquake that happened before the World Cup in 1962. The biggest earthquake ever is a world record, weighing 9.9 on the Richter scales, is mentioned there. There was another one that happened before the 1986 World Cup. Interestingly, the Azteca Stadium was unskated, unlike the one that happened in Chile, which destroyed many stadiums. So you are going to enjoy reading this book, and I can assure you too that you won't read it once. You finish reading it and you want to read it again. There is just too much about the World Cup in this book.
There is just too much about the World Cup in World Cup moments. And Mr. Akinsemola, thank you very much for being with us on this show.
The pleasure is all
You
mine.
are a prolific writer. We will be glad to have you back here after
Yes,
you've
I
written
certainly
your
will.
next
And let
book.
me still thank Osrc. The last time I came, it was about a literature book. The Company, a book that was approved for reading as an English literature in Ondo State Secondary School, even up till now. So thank you, Osrc, for always having me.
Thank you very much for coming. And viewer, thank you very much for watching us. You have been watching and listening to Mr. Bunmi Akinsemola, the writer of World Cup Moments, who has been telling us about fascinating moments engaged in the course of the history of the World Cup. He has told us some of the World Cup events. He has told us some of the matches, some of the great footballers that we have had. And he enjoins you all to appreciate football. Thank you very much, Mr. Akinsemola. And viewer, this is how far we can go on today's episode of Book Affairs, your TV book program. Today, we talked about World Cup moments. Some other time, we will find another book to talk about. Yomi Ogunye is my name. Thanks for watching us, and goodbye.